Okay, hi YouTube and hi Reddit. This is my retarded snowman friend, Devastator TR, aka Polytechnics.
Hey.
Yeah, and he's gonna be quiet, right? Anyway, making this video because one of the more controversial changes came out on the PTS, the Gatekeeper change. As many of you know, the Gatekeeper recently got an acceleration mechanic, which is pretty controversial, pretty extreme change for this weapon. But its main change is that it now accelerates at 100 meters a second squared instead of 50 meters a second squared, so it doubled its acceleration mechanic. So, main question I have is this really going to change the way this weapon functions completely? Or is it a good way to do this? Is it effective? And I've toyed around with it, and we have been toying around with it for a few minutes before this video, and the answer is I don't think so. I really don't think that the acceleration change is going to help this weapon. It's still crippled by the same drawbacks that it currently has on live. They're just slightly less annoying, but they're still annoying and pervasive nonetheless. So, to demonstrate this and extrapolate this, Polly's going to go drive around, and he's going to try and dodge all my shots, so just whenever you feel like going. And 3, 2, 1. As you can see, some of the shots that I'm lining up before he does a hook turn, they would have impacted had he continued his current direction, but with his harasser, he was able to hairpin turn and then immediately dodge the shot. And other things like that, you know, sudden acceleration from turbo. And he's gonna crash. Well, let him get going here really quick. It's still crippled by this same, go ahead and repair. It's still crippled by the acceleration. The weapon's against a fast-moving target, and God forbid if you're in a harasser, you are a fast-moving target. It takes too much time to calculate where the rocket is actually going to end up, and when you do get it against anything that's moving any decent speed, your rocket can miss. There's a huge chance that your rocket's going to miss. I really don't think this is the correct way to balance the weapon overall. You've added a mechanic where this weapon, which requires consistent hits to get its maximum DPS, and it's not even that high compared to the other long-range AV weapons. You've balanced it by basically creating it so that you can't track it, moving targets at range. That's not effective long-range AV. That is not a weapon that I would ever consider at all putting on a harasser again. And on a prowler, it's only really effective against stationary targets or incredibly slow-moving targets. To give you an idea, the other two, the current amount of drop that the Gatekeeper has is similar to what the live halberd currently, or not the live halberd, the live enforcer has. The enforcer, however, does significantly more damage, accelerates from a less extreme amount of velocity to its maximum velocity, which isn't much farther from its starting velocity. It's more predictable. It's just overall, in most of the ranges where you'd be engaging, it's basically, you can aim it more effectively than this thing, and you require fewer hits to get better damage on it. And also, Polly's making a meme in chat, but yeah, that's another strength that it has. It reloads like a shotgun. You know, every miss that you make, if you're in cover for half a second, you can reload 2 rockets. And while this thing reloads pretty fucking quick, it's still doesn't amount to much if you can't hit your shots in the first place, so I'm going to keep shooting at him. See, stop and go. Stop and go is the bane of this weapon. Even with some time in it, it's still a very painful mechanic to use. An argument that I often see that I'd like to address on this is consider the platform. If you consider harasser versus harasser domain, this weapon is absolutely atrocious. The harasser, which relies on speed to survive and is often chasing down fast-moving vehicles, like other harassers, this weapon would not stack up against an enforcer or Saron, honestly. The main reason it was effective before was because its maximum range and its very effective range would often be able to keep the other two weapons away before they could get within engagement range. But now the other two weapons, which have just significantly more DPS since they were balanced against the Vulcan for the longest time, can close the gap much more effectively and hunt you down and kill you. In its current iteration, I would not consider putting a Gatekeeper on my Harasser at all. On a Prowler, I often hear again, consider the platform. I often hear that the Prowler's main cannons having the DPS is an excuse for this thing to have very low DPS and very ineffective long-range weapon. Well, it has low DPS. This thing was never supposed to be a DPS machine like the Enforcer and the Saron. Its main attribute was range, and you took the range away, and you took its range away because it's very difficult to track targets at range. I guarantee you if Polly went over to that hill over there, I would never touch him. And if it was a Mag Rider or a Vanguard, I would have more difficulty touching him as well. This thing is basically only effective against tanks at a middle distance, and even at that, it's not worth carrying over something like the improved Vulcan, which has better cone of fire. Another argument that I see is Another argument that I see is that sorry, I'm just trying to get my notes here in order. Fuck, I just messed up, dude. Fuck. Okay, relax. Another argument that I see often is that, well, now it's within engagement range of the Enforcer and the Saron. Again, that's not necessarily a good thing. The main attribute that made the Gatekeeper strong was its range. It was never supposed to compete against the Saron and the Enforcer, having its superior DPS, and even if you argued, you know, the main cannon difference, the DPS discrepancy between the cannons of TR and C and VS is not really enough to make up for the fact that the Saron and Enforcer will still handily beat a Prowler if it gets the jump on it. Will still be a Prowler if it takes the first hit. And the shield on a Vanguard has to be considered as well. It makes it incredibly strong, and it can shrug off most of the extra damage. Obviously, I'm not arguing for lockdown Prowlers. I know lockdown Prowlers give a significant amount of DPS, but unlocked, the Prowler's DPS advantage is slim. It's not an overt amount of extra damage. So in short, I don't think acceleration is the way to do it. Several other ways you could do it. I think cone of fire is one method. If it started from a very, very pinpoint accurate cone of fire and bloomed up to something akin to basically the maximum cone of fire of the current Jolner, possibly, and then you could reset it. I think that would be one way to do it. But with the acceleration as high as it is, the weapon is too unpredictable against most targets, and I would not consider using this in its current iteration. I think many TR would not use this weapon either. I still see the halberd being my primary secondary until something else changes on this gun. So yeah, that's it. It's pretty much in closing. This was more of an opinion piece. I will see you all later.